The mind is like a garden, and every thought is a seed. The question is, what are you planting today? My dear friends, in a world that moves faster than our breath, where notifications scream louder than our own conscience, and where peace feels like a luxury rather than a birthright, we often forget something very simple. Peace is not found. Peace is built, one small habit at a time. Today, let me share with you 7 simple daily habits, gentle practices, that can help you reclaim your mind, your joy, and your inner stillness. These are not theories, these are lived truths, and if you practice them, they will become the quiet pillars of a peaceful life. Let's begin. There is something profoundly sacred about the early hours of the morning, something almost magical that the world seems to forget. When the sun hasn't risen yet, when the noise hasn't begun, when the world is still wrapped in its blanket of silence, that is the time your mind whispers truths you can't hear during the day. But most of us never catch those whispers, simply because we wake up already running, already rushing, already carried away by the demands waiting for us. And this is why waking up just a little earlier is not just about discipline, it is about dignity. It is a way of telling your mind, I value you. I want to listen to you before the world distracts you. Many people say, I don't have peace. But ask them when they wake up and you will understand the irony. If you wake up at the same time as your responsibilities, you will always be chasing your day. But if you wake up before your responsibilities, you will be leading your day. And there is a quiet confidence, a soft strength that comes from leading your day rather than reacting to it. Think of your mind like a lake. When the day hits, it is like someone throws stones into it, constant ripples, constant disturbance. But early in the morning, before the world touches you, the lake is still, transparent, pure. You can see all the way to the bottom. You can understand yourself, your fears, your hopes, your purpose. You can hear God. You can hear your own soul. You can hear the things you keep missing during the rush. Even 5 minutes can make a difference. You don't need an hour-long ritual. You don't need incense and chants unless you want them. You just need stillness. Maybe you sit by your window. Maybe you walk outside. Maybe you place your hand on your heart and simply breathe. But in that silence, something shifts. The mind stops fighting. The heart stops racing. Your thoughts settle like dust, falling to the ground after a busy day. You suddenly remember who you are, not the roles you play, not the expectations you carry, not the pressures waiting for you, but the real you, the deeper you, the you that rarely gets attention. In the morning, even your problems look smaller. Somehow, the same issue that felt impossible last night becomes manageable when viewed with a fresh mind. This is why so many wise people throughout history practice gentle morning routines. They understood that the world will demand everything from you, your time, your effort, your focus. But if you don't claim a small part of the day for yourself, you will lose yourself slowly without even realizing it. And waking up early is not just for productivity. It's for peace. It's for grounding. It's for remembering that you are not just a machine that wakes up to perform tasks. You are a spiritual being, a soul with depth, a heart with needs. You need silence. You need breath. You need connection. You need time with yourself and time with the divine. When you rise before the world, you rise into your truth. When you sit in that quiet space, you are building a shield around your mind, a strength that will last throughout the day. The noise will come, but it won't shake you as much. The stress will arrive, but it won't overwhelm you as easily. The responsibilities will demand your attention, but you'll meet them with clarity, not confusion. And eventually something beautiful happens. The morning stops feeling like a task and becomes a treasure. You begin to look forward to it. You begin to crave that peace. You begin to guard that time the way a mother guards her child. Because you realize that these minutes are not costing you sleep. They are giving you sanity. So wake up just a little earlier. Not to impress the world, not to follow a trend, but to return to yourself. To hear the sound of your own heart before the world tells you what to feel. To hear the gentle voice of God before the world shouts its demands. To meet your soul before you meet your schedule. Win your morning and you will win your mind. Win your mind and you will win your day. And a peaceful day, lived consistently, becomes a peaceful life. Every morning, the world tries to feed your mind before you even open your eyes. A notification buzzes, a message lights up the screen, a headline flashes anxiety into your day before your feet touch the ground. And without even realizing it, your mind begins consuming everything the world throws at it. Fear, comparison, noise, competition, urgency. It's almost like we allow the world to decide the quality of our thoughts before we decide the quality of our day. But your mind is a sacred space. The thoughts that enter it shape the life that follows. Just like your body needs nourishment to function well, your mind needs nourishment to think well. And when you feed your mind junk the first thing in the morning, you cannot expect peace to be the taste of your day. That is why every wise person, every saint, every philosopher, every successful individual, no matter their background, begins their day by feeding their mind something pure, something uplifting, something steadying. Not because it looks impressive, but because it keeps the mind healthy. The same way you wouldn't pour dirty water into a clean glass and drink it, you shouldn't pour chaos into a fresh mind and expect clarity. Think about it. Would you ever skip breakfast for days and still expect energy? Would you ever starve your body and still expect strength? Yet most people starve the mind, they never give it the fuel it needs, and then they wonder why they feel lost, drained, or defeated before noon. Feeding your mind first thing in the morning is not about reading 100 pages or listening to hours of lectures. It's about offering your mind something meaningful before the world offers it something stressful. It can be as simple as reading a single paragraph from a spiritual book. It can be a short prayer spoken from the heart, even if it lasts just 30 seconds. It can be one uplifting thought, a single line of wisdom that becomes the anchor of your day. It can be journaling your intentions so that your mind knows where to rest. Sometimes it is listening to something calming, something that reminds you of who you are beyond the noise. Sometimes it is remembering one thing you're grateful for. Gratitude is one of the most powerful meals for the mind. It nourishes, strengthens, and heals in ways we often underestimate. The goal is not quantity, the goal is quality. One seed of wisdom is enough to guide an entire day. One moment of spiritual connection is enough to shift your entire energy. One reminder of humility or love or faith or purpose can lift you out of the heaviness you didn't even know you were carrying. There is a beautiful thing that happens when you feed your mind. Before you feed your body, the world loses some of its power over you. You stop reacting to life and start responding with intention. Suddenly, the things that bothered you yesterday feel smaller. The situations that triggered you feel less threatening. The challenges ahead feel more manageable. It's not that life has changed, it's that you have changed. The mind you nurture in the morning becomes the mind you live with for the rest of the day. And here's a gentle truth. What you read, listen to, and think in the morning sets the emotional temperature of your inner world. If the first thing you consume is comparison, you plant insecurity. If the first thing you consume is negativity, you plant fear. If the first thing you consume is noise, you plant chaos. But if the first thing you consume is wisdom, you plant stability. If you consume gratitude, you plant joy. If you consume prayer, you plant faith. And when the roots are strong, the storms feel different. Your mind is your greatest asset. When you feed it well, it serves you well. When you ignore it, it becomes restless. And a restless mind cannot produce a peaceful life. So tomorrow morning, before the world tries to feed you its opinions, feed yourself truth. Before the world tries to give you stress, give yourself stillness. Before the world pulls your mind toward fear, anchor it in faith. This simple habit practiced daily can transform the way you live, the way you think, the way you feel. And the beauty is, it doesn't cost anything, just a moment, just a breath. Just a little love for yourself and a little reverence for your mind. Because when you feed your mind something sacred, your entire day becomes sacred. And a sacred day, repeated often enough, becomes a peaceful life. Every day without fail, dust gathers in our homes. Even if we don't see it, it settles quietly, on tables, on shelves, on corners we don't pay attention to. If you leave it untouched, it builds. It becomes heavier. It starts affecting the air you breathe. And eventually, you look around and wonder how such a small thing created such a big mess. The same thing happens inside the mind. Throughout the day, small irritations settle inside us. A hurtful comment lands in our heart. A disappointment settles in a corner of our mind. A fear sits quietly in the background. Jealousy creeps in when we see someone else doing better. Regret knocks on the door in the middle of the night. Little by little, emotional dust gathers. We don't notice it immediately, but in a few days, a few months, a few years, the heart starts feeling heavy. The mind becomes cluttered. Peace becomes harder to find. And we wonder why. But if we can clean our homes daily, why can't we clean our inner world daily too? People think peace comes by rearranging life on the outside, changing jobs, changing relationships, changing circumstances. But true peace begins when you rearrange life on the inside, when you sweep out what no longer serves you, when you release what weighs you down, when you let go of what steals your joy. Cleaning your inner room does not require hours of meditation or long spiritual rituals. It just requires awareness, honesty, and a few gentle moments with yourself. At the end of the day, sit quietly and ask, what did I carry today that I don't need to take into tomorrow? It could be a frustration. It could be anger. It could be a fear that grew bigger than reality. It could be a memory that keeps hurting. Or it could simply be the heaviness of an unfinished day. The mind, like a room, needs daily maintenance. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools for cleaning the inner room. But forgiveness is misunderstood. It is not agreeing with what happened. It is not pretending you are okay when you are not. Forgiveness is simply refusing to let yesterday's pain poison today's peace. It is sweeping out bitterness the way you sweep out dust. It is letting yourself breathe again. And forgiveness is not always directed to others. Many times, we need to forgive ourselves. We replay our mistakes like broken records. We reopen old wounds again and again. We blame ourselves for things we didn't know then. We judge our past selves with the wisdom of our present selves. And that creates unnecessary suffering. Self-forgiveness is the gentle act of saying, I am learning, I am trying, I am growing. It is choosing compassion over criticism. It is cleaning the inner room with tenderness rather than harshness. Another part of inner cleaning is releasing control over what is not in your hands. So much of our anxiety comes from trying to manage things that are never meant to be managed. People's opinions, the future, the past, outcomes, timing. When we cling tightly, we create tension. When we loosen our grip, clarity enters. There is peace in accepting that not everything is yours to fix. Some things are God's to handle, not yours to carry. And when you let them go, your inner room becomes lighter, cleaner, calmer. You can also clean your inner world through gratitude. Gratitude is like opening the windows of a stuffy room. Suddenly, fresh air flows in. Suddenly, there is space. Suddenly, the darkness lifts. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, your heart expands. Gratitude does not remove problems, but it reduces their weight. One more way to clean your inner room is by speaking gently to others and to yourself. Harsh words leave stains. Gentle words wipe them away. Speak with kindness. Act with compassion. Choose warmth over anger. These small choices create a clean emotional environment where peace can thrive. And the more you practice inner cleaning, the more natural it becomes. Just like cleaning a physical room, it feels harder when you've ignored it for too long. But when you do it regularly, it becomes simple, healing, effortless. You start to notice emotional dust before it piles up. You start to catch anger before it becomes resentment. You start to release fear before it controls you. A peaceful mind is not an accident. It is maintained, it is cared for, it is cleaned every day with intention. And when the inner room is cleaned, life feels lighter. Joy returns without invitation. Peace flows without struggle. The heart becomes a space where love can enter, wisdom can grow, and God can reside. Throughout the day, life pulls us in different directions. Someone needs something from us. Something unexpected happens. Plans change. Responsibilities multiply. And before we know it, hours pass without a single moment of true stillness. The mind runs like a machine that never stops, spinning thought after thought, worry after worry, expectation after expectation. And we wonder why we feel drained. We wonder why peace feels distant. We wonder why we are exhausted even when nothing major happened. But the truth is simple. The mind is not supposed to run non-stop. Just like the heart needs beats of rest between each pulse, the mind needs pauses between the pressures of life. We schedule our work, we schedule our meetings, we schedule our meals, we even schedule our distractions. But we rarely schedule stillness. We wait for a perfect moment of peace, not realizing that perfect moments rarely arrive on their own. They must be created intentionally, gently, consistently. A pause does not have to be long. Sometimes even 60 seconds is enough to reset the mind, like pressing a refresh button. Imagine you're working on a computer. When too many tabs are open at once, the system slows down. It lags, it becomes unresponsive. The solution is simple: close a few tabs, restart the system, give it a moment to breathe. The mind works the same way. When too many thoughts are open at once, you feel overwhelmed. But a short pause, a single minute of stillness, can restart your inner system, clear the mental clutter, and bring you back to the present. Stillness is not about doing nothing, it is about being aware. It is about becoming conscious again. And in those 60 seconds, you gift yourself something rare and precious: presence. It can be as simple as closing your eyes and taking one deep breath, or sitting quietly in your chair without reaching for your phone, or stepping outside and feeling the air on your face, or placing your hand over your heart and listening to its rhythm. These tiny practices are like small drops of peace that accumulate throughout the day, filling your inner cup slowly but surely. And here's the beautiful part: the more you practice stillness, the more your mind begins to crave it. When the mind gets even a small taste of silence, it remembers. It remembers what calm feels like. It remembers what clarity feels like. It remembers the natural rhythm it was meant to live in, not racing, not panicking, not overthinking, just flowing. Most people think peace is found at the end of the day, in the late hours when everything is done, but true peace is created in the middle of the day, in the moments when you need it most. Peace is not something you experience only after the storm, it's something you practice during the storm. And these tiny islands of calm scattered across your day become the anchors that hold your mind steady when life starts to shake. When you pause, you become more thoughtful, you respond better, you choose your words wisely, you act from intention, not impulse. You become less reactive, less agitated, less drained. The world around you may still be noisy, but the world inside you becomes quieter. Think of the difference this makes in relationships. A pause can save an argument. A pause can soften anger. A pause can prevent hurt. One small moment of stillness gives you the space to breathe, reflect, and act with kindness instead of reacting with emotion. Many of the regrets people carry were born from moments they didn't pause. A single minute of stillness could have changed everything. Even spiritually, stillness is powerful. It is in silence that we hear the call of the divine. It is in silence that we reconnect with meaning. It is in silence that the heart remembers its purpose. Sometimes God doesn't speak in loud signs, sometimes He whispers. And we can only hear those whispers when we pause long enough to listen. If you wait for peace to come on its own, you may wait your whole life. But if you choose to create peace in small, intentional moments, you will carry peace with you everywhere you go. So schedule stillness the way you schedule everything else that matters. Make tiny pauses part of your rhythm. Let silence become your companion. Let breath become your sanctuary. Let presence become your strength. Because a peaceful mind is not the result of one big moment of calm, it is created from many small pauses, scattered through the day like gentle reminders that you are alive, you are present, you are growing, and you are guided. Kindness is one of the simplest acts in the world, yet one of the rarest to see in its purest form. We live in a time where speed is celebrated more than sensitivity, where efficiency is valued more than empathy, and where people are often too busy surviving to notice the quiet suffering of those around them. And still, it is kindness, gentle, sincere, unexpected kindness, that has the power to soften the hardest days and heal the deepest wounds. Kindness is a language the heart never forgets. Being kind when it's easy doesn't reveal much. Anyone can smile when they're in a good mood. Anyone can be helpful when life is flowing smoothly. True kindness is revealed in the moments when you don't have to be kind, when you're tired, stressed, busy, or hurt. That is where the soul is tested. That is where character is revealed. That is where spiritual maturity takes birth. Think of the people who left a lasting impact on your life, not because of their wealth, status, or intelligence, but because of the way they made you feel. Maybe it was a teacher who believed in you when you doubted yourself. Maybe a stranger who encouraged you during a hard time. Maybe a friend who reached out without expecting anything in return. These gestures may have taken them only a few seconds or a few words, but they stayed with you. They shaped you. They lifted you. They reminded you that goodness still exists in this world. That is the power of kindness. It lasts longer than the moment. Kindness doesn't require grand actions. It can be as small as a smile at someone who feels invisible. It can be a thank you said with sincerity instead of habit. It can be letting someone speak without interrupting. It can be forgiving someone who doesn't even know they hurt you. It can be checking on someone who hides their pain well. These small acts may seem insignificant, but to someone carrying a heavy heart, they can feel like sunlight breaking through a storm. And kindness is not just for others, it transforms you as well. Every act of kindness softens your mind. It makes your heart lighter. It reduces ego, the silent enemy of peace. It dissolves tension, because it is impossible to hold anger and kindness in the same space. One always pushes the other out. When you choose kindness, you choose freedom from the prison of negativity. One of the greatest misconceptions is that kindness makes you weak. In reality, kindness requires tremendous strength. It takes strength to smile when things are not perfect. It takes strength to respond gently when someone speaks harshly. It takes strength to give when you have little. It takes strength to care in a world that sometimes feels uncaring. And it takes strength to remain compassionate when life tests your patience. Kindness is not a reaction to how others treat you. It is an expression of who you are. It is your character shining through the circumstances, not your circumstances deciding your character. When you choose kindness consistently, it becomes a part of your nature. It becomes your signature. It becomes your way of living. And the beautiful thing is, kindness always comes back to you. Maybe not immediately, maybe not obviously, but life has a way of returning what you give. When you spread light, some of that light always reflects back. When you lift others, you rise a little higher too. When you help someone breathe easier, your own soul breathes easier. Even spiritually, kindness carries immense value. A heart that serves becomes a heart God loves to work through. When you lift others, you align with a higher purpose. When you help someone heal, heaven takes notice. Kindness is a form of worship without words, an offering of compassion, a prayer lived through action. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do is simply be present. People are carrying battles invisible to the eye. Someone may be smiling but breaking inside. Someone may seem strong but feeling lonely. Someone may appear confident but silently drowning. A small act of kindness can be the lifeline they didn't know they needed. Kindness does not need applause. It does not need recognition. It does not ask, "What will I get in return?" It simply says, "Here is a moment to make life better for someone. Let me take it." And in those moments, you become a light in someone's darkness, a calm in their storm, a reminder that love still lives in the world. So choose kindness, especially when you don't have to. Let your words heal, not hurt. Let your actions lift, not break. Let your presence comfort, not intimidate. Because in the end, people will forget many things, but they will never forget how your kindness made them feel safe, seen, valued, and loved. there is a special kind of silence that settles over the world at night, a silence that holds both softness and truth. It is in these late hours, when the day has surrendered and responsibilities fall asleep, that the mind becomes most vulnerable. The noise outside fades, but the noise inside becomes louder. The fears we avoided during the day knock on the door. The worries we pushed aside sit beside us. The regrets we buried begin to whisper, and often, instead of facing these thoughts with compassion, we distract ourselves with screens, scrolling endlessly, numbing ourselves until our eyes grow tired and we collapse into sleep. But this kind of ending does not bring peace. It drains it. The way you end your day is not a small detail. It shapes the quality of your sleep, the state of your heart, and the energy with which you wake the next morning. Most people don't realize that the mind has two openings, one at the beginning of the day and one at the end. What enters through the first shapes your focus. What enters through the second shapes your subconscious. And yet, so many of us close our day with arguments, negativity, stress, or mindless content. We go to bed with our minds still racing through unfinished conversations, scrolling through filtered lives, comparing ourselves to illusions, filling our hearts with everything except the peace we desperately need. But imagine ending your day differently. Imagine giving your mind a soft landing. Imagine allowing the night to heal you instead of harm you. It begins with a simple shift. Choosing what you allow into your mind before sleep. Choosing to wind down with intention. Choosing to let the day close gently, like the final note of a beautiful melody. One of the most powerful nighttime habits is gratitude. Gratitude is like turning the light on in a dark room. It changes the atmosphere instantly. When you take a moment to reflect on 3 things that went well today, even the smallest things, your mind shifts from lack to abundance, from burden to blessing. Gratitude is not about denying the struggles, it is about acknowledging the goodness that coexists with them. Even on difficult days, there is always something to appreciate. A kind word, a meal, a moment of rest, a breath that carried you through. Gratitude softens the heart and prepares the mind for rest. Another powerful practice is releasing the weight you collected throughout the day. Maybe someone upset you. Maybe something didn't go as planned. Maybe you weren't your best self. Maybe the day was heavier than expected. Instead of carrying that weight into your sleep, let it go gently. Forgive the person who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Forgive yourself for any mistake, not because it doesn't matter, but because you're learning. Give your worries to God. Tell Him what hurts, what confuses you, what scares you. Let the night be a moment of surrender, not struggle. And then speak kindly to yourself. So many people end their day with self-judgment. I didn't do enough. I failed. I should have been stronger. I should have been wiser. But the truth is, you tried. You did what you could with the strength you had. Healing begins when you stop criticizing yourself for being human. Imagine ending your day with words like, I'm proud of myself for getting through today, or I'm grateful for my body, my breath, my growth. These gentle messages prepare your mind to rest with dignity rather than disappointment. Avoid filling your mind with negativity before bed. The news can wait, the notifications can wait, the world will still be there in the morning. Protect your peace by shutting the doors of your mind slowly, intentionally. Create a small ritual. Maybe dim the lights, maybe stretch for a moment, maybe take a warm shower, maybe read something inspiring. Let the body and mind understand the day is ending and rest is near. When you end the day with gratitude, forgiveness, and faith, something beautiful happens. You sleep deeper, you wake lighter, your mind feels clearer, your heart feels calmer. The problems don't disappear, but your relationship with them changes. You carry them with more strength, more clarity, more peace. A peaceful morning begins the night before, and a peaceful mind begins with the choices you make in those final minutes before sleep. Protect those minutes. Guard them like treasure. Let them be sacred. Because the night was not created for worry. It was created for rest, recovery, and renewal. There are moments in life when we feel far from God, not because He has moved away from us, but because life has pulled us into storms that make it harder to feel His presence. Sometimes it's stress, sometimes it's heartbreak, sometimes it's disappointment. Sometimes it's the quiet ache of feeling lost even when everything looks fine on the outside. And in these moments, the heart begins to whisper, maybe God is far from me. But the truth is, God is closest to us in the moments we feel farthest from Him. Distance in the spiritual journey isn't measured by miles. It is measured by awareness. Even when you can't feel God, He is there. Even when you can't hear Him, He is listening. Even when you don't understand your path, He is guiding your steps. His presence is not dependent on your certainty, it is anchored in His love. Staying close to God does not require perfect faith. It does not require long prayers, fancy words, or flawless devotion. It requires honesty. The most intimate conversations with God are often the simplest. I'm tired, I'm worried, I don't know what to do. Please stay with me. These whispers spoken from the heart are more powerful than any well-crafted prayer. God listens to sincerity, not sophistication. There are days when we feel spiritually strong, connected, centered, grounded, and then there are days when faith feels like a fragile candle flickering inside a storm. On those days, don't judge yourself. Every soul goes through seasons. Even the greatest saints experience silence, doubt, and confusion. What kept them anchored was not perfection, it was persistence. They showed up even when their heart felt heavy. They turned toward God even when their mind was wandering. They prayed even when they didn't feel holy. Staying close to God is about returning again and again and again. Returning in moments of joy and in moments of heartbreak. Returning when you succeed and when you fail. Returning when you understand and when you don't. Returning when you feel strong and especially when you feel broken. A child does not hesitate to run to a parent because they fear they are imperfect. They run because they know they are loved. In the same way, run to God in your imperfect moments because love welcomes you as you are. Sometimes the mind says, I don't have time for spirituality. But spirituality isn't an appointment, it is awareness. You can connect with God in the smallest moments of your day. When you take a deep breath, whisper thank you. When you are confused, say guide me. When you feel overwhelmed, say stay with me. When you feel hopeful, say I trust you. These simple words create a bridge between your heart and the divine. Even your actions can be prayers. When you help someone, that is worship. When you forgive someone, that is worship. When you choose kindness over ego, that is worship. When you let go of what you cannot control, that is worship. God is not only found in temples, churches, or sacred places. He is found in the quiet choices you make every day, choices rooted in love, humility, and compassion. And sometimes staying close to God simply means being still. Sit in silence for a moment. Breathe gently. Let your heart speak. Let your mind rest. In that stillness, you may feel something subtle, a presence, a calm, a warmth, a quiet reassurance. You are not alone. That small moment, that small shift is proof that God has been with you all along. People often expect spiritual experiences to be dramatic, visions, voices, miracles. But most of the time, God speaks through subtle signs. A moment of peace after days of anxiety, the right person arriving at the right time, a problem resolving itself quietly, a feeling of strength you didn't know you had, a lesson learned through hardship, a gentle pull in the right direction. These are not coincidences. These are fingerprints of the divine on your life. And when you begin to notice them, your faith deepens. Not because everything becomes easy, but because you realize nothing is random. You are led, you are guided, you are protected in ways you may never fully understand. So stay close to God, in your way, in your language, in your rhythm. You don't have to feel holy, you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to understand everything. Just stay connected. Stay open, stay humble, stay honest, because a peaceful mind grows in a faithful heart. And the heart that remembers God, even in its weakest moments, becomes a heart filled with strength, clarity, and unshakable peace. My dear friends, As you walk through life, remember this simple truth. Peace is not something you search for in the world. Peace is something you build within, with God as your foundation. No matter how loud the world becomes, no matter how heavy your days feel, no matter how uncertain the path ahead may look, you are never walking alone. The one who created you walks beside you, guides you, strengthens you, and waits patiently for you to return to Him again and again. So take these simple habits and live them gently. Practice them consistently. Let them shape your mornings, steady your days, calm your nights, and open your heart to something higher. And remember, a peaceful mind is not a gift you receive. It is a partnership between your effort and God's grace. Walk with faith, act with courage, live with gratitude, serve with love. Because when your heart stays anchored in the divine, even the storms of life bow before your peace.